The Holiday Let's Tribe on Property Tribes is sponsored by HomeAway UK, and today we're on location at the HomeAway UK Owner Summit 2013, and I'm joined by Matt Curtis, who is Director of Government Relations. And Matt, I really wanted to speak to you for Property Tribes TV because there is a threat to holiday home owners from government, basically, isn't there? Could you tell us how serious this is?
Well, and it's not really a threat so much as it's something that is changing, and it's people and some different municipalities, some different local governments who are looking at different levels of regulation. And regulation doesn't have to be bad at all, but oftentimes what can happen is somebody will get a little overly enthusiastic about making the regulation, and they'll make it incredibly restrictive, or even in some cases they've pushed for a ban of short-term letting.
And which countries is this really affecting at the moment in Europe?
Well, the countries, mostly France with a situation in Paris, and then Spain with situations in the Canary Islands. There have been some conversations in Germany, in Amsterdam, and we've heard different conversations from some different local municipalities in the UK.
And the agenda behind this is really as a kind of revenue-raising opportunity for local government.
Well, unfortunately, it can, if they want to put a fair regulation on there. That would make the most sense. Have somebody register and put their home in some kind of a program where they're participating with all the rules and paying any necessary taxes that might be associated with that. And there probably may already be existing taxes. The problems really lie in when the governments get overly enthusiastic and they want to significantly restrict the activity because they don't understand the activity is going to go on either way. And the biggest example of that is in New York, where they banned the activity in 2010, but there are several times more short-term lets available in New York than before the ban.
So they're not enforcing the regulation yet?
You know, they're enforcing it, but it's almost impossible to enforce. It's people renting out their property. So really what the city of New York could have done, and what the city of Paris could do, and the cities in Spain and in Germany, what they could do is formulate a program based on best practices where people can register and become part of the program. And that way they're applying and being part of all the laws associated there locally, but they're participating with the program. They're already participating in the local economy, bringing travelers and other visitors, business workers who travel this way to their community. And of course, those folks are spending a lot of money in each of these communities for a long period of time, since the average short-term let is much longer than an average hotel stay. Absolutely.
Now, your role at HomeAway UK is to advise holiday let owners and property managers how to deal with this if it arises in their area. Is that right?
Right. Our encouragement to them is to organize amongst themselves. So we really encourage them that the best thing they could do, they may want me to come to their community and talk to them about this, or even talk to their local government, but nothing will be as effective as the people who own property and maybe even live in that town, and of course vote or pay any of their property taxes, for them to organize amongst themselves. So now you have a bunch of organized owners and managers in a community in Europe, and they get to go down to their local town council and say, hey, wait a second, before you guys get too enthusiastic about these restrictions, let's look at best practices, where this has worked in other communities and where it's been very successful in other communities, and let's model ourselves after that rather than model ourselves after practices where it hasn't worked at all.
Well, that to me actually sounds very healthy, because it will benefit ultimately the traveller, and if the traveller is happy, then holiday let owners are going to have more business. So I actually would welcome that kind of regulation where the community is involved in actually working out the standards.
Sure, and you know, sometimes the regulations are fairly minimal. We've seen some communities where they said, hey, the cost for us to be able to apply and enforce a lot of restrictions it far outweighs the amount of benefit that we get in our local economic activity, in our local economy, from this activity. So our view is to keep the regulations minimal, and that works in a lot of communities. In the communities where they want to have a few more regulations and a little bit more of a standardized practice, that can work as well. But what every community that does well with this knows, the activity, the act of people renting out for short-term stays and the travelers that brings so much to the local economy and can be such a productive part of the local community that it really benefits the entire local area to have something that's a fair practice rather than something that's an onerous restriction.
Absolutely. Well, HomeAway UK obviously takes it seriously, and the whole HomeAway network, because that is your role, to be a kind of conduit and to advise and help educate. So as tourism and holiday let cottages become more and more popular, it is something that we're all going to have awareness of, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you know, what I tell people all the time is regulations happen very quickly. Restrictions and onerous restrictions can happen overnight almost. Governments don't often do the job that everyone would like to see happen of promoting the conversations that they're having. So there might be something on a town council agenda 3 days or a week away, but you may not normally know about it because you might not be paying attention to what's going on there all the time. So the best thing to do is create that local organization, because then you're going to have a lot of ears to the ground.
Yep.
And every local organization has always said the same thing. Owners, managers, gardeners, all the stakeholders that benefit from the short-term letting activity, they've all said the same thing. They've benefited greatly from getting together and building a local coalition. More than anything, they make a lot of new friends, and then they learn a lot of new practices.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for sharing those insights, and it's great to have somebody of your experience and operating at the level you are on Property Tribes TV and sharing that with our community. So thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.